Bob here, Chopper Bob Customs, and today I'm working on Uncle Dirtbag's 1960/2008 Chevrolet C10 pickup truck. I say it's a 1960/2008 because the body is a 1960 Apache and it is sitting on a 2008, I believe it's a Tahoe chassis, complete engine, transmission, rear end, the frame rails, everything is 2008. So basically, I guess you could call it a resto mod, although it's not much restored. It's kind of rusty and crusty, and he intends to leave it this way, and that's pretty neat. I mean, it's just an honest old truck, but there are a couple things that need to be fixed on it, just because it has gotten a little bit too bad to actually keep on the road. I think his foot went through there, and he's getting, of course, road dirt and water and everything else coming up and fumes. And basically, I have done the other side. I had shot some video on that, but I realized that I had gone the wrong direction with it. And rather than post it, I just decided to go ahead and finish it up and do this side. This side is probably a little bit worse. The rust extends over past the cab support that runs fore and aft. So I'm going to have to run over the top of that and see if there's any repairs that need to be done on that. I've identified some holes in the toe board. The toe board is basically available that I found as a complete firewall. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to make some patch panels out of some 18 gauge and put those in. But we've got a new front floor section, got the new rear floor side. Both of those include the inner rocker panel. The outer rocker panel, as you can see, is pretty well toast, so it's going to be replaced. I have the A-pillar bottom repair based on the rust damage that's here and how bad it was on the other side. I'm sure I'm going to have to put the repair panel in that's in behind the rocker panel there. The kick panel is rotten as well, and so I'm going to be replacing it. And then the door, bottom, inside and out, are both rotten, and so I'm going to be replacing the inner panel. I'm probably going to have to do a patch up here. That's not included in the panel. The rest of it above that line seems pretty solid, but basically the patch panel goes from here down, and then the exterior panel, it comes up about, I think, 8 inches or so. So I will probably determine where the badness ends and cut it off. Try and keep as much of the original sheet metal as I can. But that is what we'll be doing. And I'll probably split this up into several different videos. But let's get started today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take the door off of the truck. It'd be nice to have a door jack. I don't have one. What I do have, I got this, I got 3 of these on a deal we worked back in the day on a Chevy pickup truck, 2nd generation C10. And basically it's just 2x4s nailed together into a crib fashion. I set them on my floor jack, and then with the door open, I slide it into place, and I catch just the outside of the door in the opening, and that has the taller 2x4 catch the bottom of the door. I kind of cheated. I already know where the center of gravity sort of is on this door, so it's not too bad. So put just a little tension on it, and then I strap it down because I don't want it to come off. Okay, now even though it's strapped down, it can still get away from you. I do have the strap wrapped through the jack and the 2x4 stand that's down there, but you still need to be careful with it. Always keep one hand on it if you can, and you can pull it away from the vehicle. Okay, I forgot one very important part. Camera. Show you what I forgot. I don't know what here. Let's do this. Okay, this is the door stop right here. Keeps it from swinging open too far. There's a little roll pin in there that I'll have to knock out. You have to drive it up out of the way. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this, go get a hammer and a drift, and I'll have it knocked out. When I come back, I'll have the door off the truck. So there's the pin, and I don't know whether you can see this in the video or not, but there's a ledge at the top that keeps it from falling down through. So that's why you have to drive it up through the bottom. I start with a large punch that's larger than this diameter to get it that first knock, to get it unseated, and then use a small drift to go ahead and drive it on out. Very easy piece to get in and out. But once it is out, then the door is free, finally. And as you noticed, I did put a bolt back in it when I did not have hand control over the door, simply because I didn't want it to get away from me while I was driving the pin out. So now, the door should come away from the truck. And at this point I can let it down slowly. And then I can take it and put it someplace in safe storage for right now. So I'll go do that and be right back. Most of the guys I've seen do this don't brace the door opening. And the truth of the matter is, with that tunnel that's down through there that's still pretty solid, and with the roof that's still pretty solid, you may not need to do this, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So what I've done, and I've repurposed these from the other side. I've got a piece of angle iron that I drilled holes in to fit the door hinge mount on the lower side. If I can get the bolt started. Cut out so that I can match it to the door jamb striker at the top on the back. Piece of 1/8 inch thick, 2 inch wide, and it bolts in to where the cowl extension. And as soon as I get the welder over here and get it set up, the only place I'll be welding to the cab is right here at the back of this 2 inch wide bar. I'll have to put a weld on the door jamb where the where the rubber seal goes, and then I will weld in this bar here, together where they cross. So let me get the welder set up and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the, over here, I've got the paint and rust and black death and other schmutz off the piece there where I'm going to be attaching this. I did a little bit of final grinding and fitting on my pieces. Just a quick word about this. This 1-inch square tubing, I've used this. Originally I used it when I chopped the top on the 50 Plymouth, and I've used it on several cars since then. I've got a pile of this stuff over there. It was originally fitting a 1950 Plymouth to reinforce it when I chopped the top, but the thing is, you put it in a pile and you can always reuse it for another project, just like I'm doing right here. So, and since the price of steel and aluminum and everything else is just going through the roof, you need to be able to reuse stuff if you all can. Famous dad quote, that ain't going nowhere. So the first part that needs to go in when I start reassembling this thing is the forward cab mount. And it goes about right here, and it goes over to the cab mount that runs longitudinally across the, from front to back on the cab floor. And then it attaches out at the outside edge here with 5 bolts. 2 of them are hidden behind the rocker panel, and then 3 of them are here that holds the mount for the bottom of the front fender. I've got some penetrating lube on them. I can tell you from experience that probably at least one of them is going to break. And then once I get that done, then basically I've got to cut the rocker panel off so I can get to the back side of these 2 bolts that are hidden in here. Get a good shot of penetrating lube on them and try and get them out. So let's try our luck here, see how we do. Bad. And all 3 came out. That's the lower fender mount right there. So we'll set that aside to clean up for later. And now we'll get set up and start cutting. The top of the rocker panel overlaps the floor. So the floor comes out and then drops down as the inner rocker panel. And if your floor and inner rocker panel are in good shape, you want to come out about 1 inch away from the edge of the rocker panel when you're making this cut, so that you don't cut through the floor and have to do some extra welding. But since this is all basically just junk, I don't have to be careful. So there are the 2 bolts I was talking about. And then I've got the same thing going on back here with the rear cab mount. So I'm going to soak those down and probably let them sit for a little bit, because they're in pretty bad shape. The next thing I'm going to want to do, unfortunately when he did the cab mount on here. It's got new bolts in it, so that's going to be easy. I needed to get some wires out of the way. I believe the orange and white are for the dome light in the cab, and I've got a feeling that this probably has to do with it's either the thing that kind of concerns me about this one is the brown and the green appear to be hooked up. The yellow and the white are not, and then there's a red and a black. I'm not sure why those are that way, but he's got those running through a grommet in the floor. That could be because of the 2008 frame. I think the wiring probably is supposed to go through that hole right there, but that was probably for the 60 chassis. Whatever the case, I'm going to have to get those wires out of the way up here so that I don't cut them. He's also got some blue wires that I'm pretty sure are for speakers. So I'm going to go ahead and make a note of what color hooks to what, and I'm going to probably cut those connectors, and I'll get back to them when it comes time to reconnect the wiring. I'm going to pause for now, make some recording of the wiring, and when I come back I'll be ready to cut the floor on either side of the that support. So what I'm going to try to do now is take the main body bolt out. Takes care of the bolts. Now, when I was underneath of there, he's got a brake line that runs between the frame rail and the body support, and I'm probably going to have to, I may have to modify that. Well, we'll have to see. Because it's pinched. It's got a piece of rubber hose wrapped around it right now, but I think we probably ought to do something to give it a little bit more clearance so it doesn't get pinched when you're driving it. And I'm not sure what you can see here, but basically this right here is the longitudinal cab support that runs here like this. And as I suspected, I am rotten. There's a hole right there. So, and it's heavily fitted back in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't open this up so that I can see what's underneath it here, see what kind of shape it's in. And then I'll probably cut down both sides it's already damaged that brake line right there. Alright, we're going to have a chat about that. I'm rusted out back in here. I'm going to have to rebuild some of that. I've cut the front of the inner rocker off, and what's left of the cab support is spot welded to this. So hopefully between this and what's left of the cab support, I can figure out what kind of modifications I need to make to the new one. I've got a rust hole in the longitudinal cab support back in here. I don't think it's rusted out in here, so I'm going to have to clean this up and get back to solid metal and see what kind of patch I can put in there on that. I'm going to have to talk to Uncle Dirtbag about what he wants to do about this brake line. It is worn. It's probably between wearing and pinching. It's probably about half through, and it's rusty. So we're going to have to do something about the brake line. But what I thought I'd do now is get the see if I can't get the rest of this rocker panel off of the A-pillar and see how much damage is in there, and then I can start working on getting the replacement cab support fitting here. Just as I suspected, the lower portion of the A-pillar is rotted out in several places. This is just a place that traps mud and water, and so you can usually count on having to replace the bottom of the A-pillar, and they make a pretty nice replacement piece that'll go in there. Of course, there's a lot of cleanup that you have to do before you get to that point. So now I've got a little bit left to do over here on this side before I can start modifying this. And I say I have to modify it because these flanges right here, they don't bend over from the factory, and sometimes they're not even in the right place. So I've got to determine where the bend line needs to be. I need to bend it over so that it'll fit in there and match up with the holes on the A-pillar. So let's see what I need to do to finish cleaning this up. The rest of the cab support, part of the floor, obviously. So what I've got now is I've got 2 holes here and 2 holes here that will correspond with, hopefully these, no, they're not in the correct place, are they? No. Okay, so I'm going to probably have to drill some holes. I'm going to have to make some folds on the ends of this. Let me pause this right now and go, into on the other side in that the replacement part, well, it's supposed to be exactly as original. It's not. Let's see what I got here for hole spacing. Get 2.5 inches. Mm. 2 9/16. That's probably close enough. And 2.5. Now that should be it, but this flange right here probably needs to be rolled out a little bit, and then these flanges right here need to be peeled back. The question is where. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to try and rack these right here so that it will drop down back in there. Okay, so what I did was I took this over to the vise, and with the hammer and with the punch I managed to bring this flange out this way, which then dropped the back of this down into place. So I've got a pretty good fit there. I'm gonna have to move the hole on the body mount, but basically when I do the repair work on that rusted out spot, I'll be able to weld this in, get the body mount in there, and it'll be ready to start putting the floor in. It's been a couple of days. I don't know whether I had a real bad allergy attack or whether I've got a cold, but I'm on the mend. I don't have a cough button, so you might end up hearing me cough. Where we're at is we're putting this cab support in. What I've done is I've gone ahead and put some shims in there to make sure that it's still going to fit correctly when I put the floor pan and the kick panel, which are going to be in between the A-pillar and the cab support. Let me go ahead and pull this out of here real quick. I went ahead and put some shims in it so that I was sure, and they'll fall out probably here in a second. Now, what I had to do to make this work, first, these flanges right here stick straight out when you get it from the supplier. And so I had to determine where the brake line was on that and break it over. Same thing on the back side here. And as you can see, they don't give you much to work with. So probably instead of putting spot welds in here, I'm probably just going to put a weld bead along that side. And I may put one spot down at the bottom. And then I may put a spot on either side, but they give you this huge one that you can weld to the fore and aft cab support. And as you can see, I haven't cleaned off the slag yet, but I had to do a little bit of trimming on it to make it work. And then when I bolted it in, it was sitting up like this in the back. And so what I had to do was I had to come in and with a punch and a hammer and stretch and flatten this area out on both sides. to bring this flange up like this, which then in turn drop this down at the back. And so now it's sitting in there pretty good. I've got just a few more modifications to make to it. One, the hole is not in the correct location. I don't know whether that's a problem from the manufacturer or whether it's a problem because of the way Uncle Dirtbag welded the cab support mounts to the frame. But these holes on the other side, I had to do the same thing. I had to move it forward like that, and then I have to make a tube to go inside to act like a spacer so this doesn't crush when you tighten the body bolt down. So with that, the next thing I've got to do is there is a hole here. I'm going to take the camera off and okay, there is a hole rotted in this is the fore and aft cab support, and it's in pretty good shape, except it trapped moisture and stuff right in here, and so it's pretty rotten. And so I talked to Uncle Dirtbag about it. I mean, you could have probably left it, but I talked to him about it, and we both agreed that it probably should be replaced. The top flange is good, the bottom flange is good, so probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along here, and then down on either side of all these pits, and just weld a flat panel in and clean it up so that that'll work. So I'm going to get on that right now. Scrap piece from the floor from the other side. Got the piece that I cut out. I'm going to mark it. And cut it out. Now, here's the thing about this. You've got a saw kerf on all four sides, so this needs to be a little bit bigger than that piece. So I've got the lines drawn on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the outside of them, and then I can kind of trim it to fit as we go. This is where a Beverly sure would come in handy. The piece cut out and fit in here. Pretty good fit. I'm going to go ahead and start welding it. I'm about out of wire, so I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I've got to start. So I'm out of wire. Let me double check. once it's buried underneath of there, no one's gonna see it. Let me show you what we got going. Okay. So that basically took care of that rotten area in the cab support. All right, let's see if the cab corner support still fits. Okay, so with that, the cab mount is mounted solidly to the cab. Of course, the bolts are out here holding it to the A-pillar, but that will give us a base to put the floor in. It's in there good and solid to the fore and aft body mount, and I've got a good bowl down through the big body mount here. And what I'll be doing is I'll be measuring and putting a tube in there, welding it in down to the bottom so that it doesn't crush it when you tighten it up full tight. And so the next video will involve repairing this toe board. I've got some rust holes, I've got some really bad pits in there, and I'm going to have to get in there and make a piece to replace it, cut out the kick panel so that the floor will drop in, get it all cut out, and then do the back floor extension. And then the rocker panel, I've got to rebuild the B-pillar because it's rotten. So, at any rate, hey, listen, thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment, share it with your friends, like. This is going to start being a little bit more regular because of the weather. So set that notification bell so you know when the new videos are coming up. And for now, Chopper Bob out.